Rosalyn was born as such a big child. She was the first baby, so it made her mother feel even bigger pain. She was the ex-Desert Tribe member and fell in love with an alien that she married, and well, she left the Earth along with him. However, her parents didn't plan to form a tribe. They decided to have even more kids, and then Rosa's sisters were born one by one. Azalea, Aurora, Bailey, Chelsea, Vanessa, Angela, and finally Juarez, who was sometimes jealous, as if they lived in a tribe, Rosa would have been the successor of their mother. Rosalyn preferred her meerkat monk form. She had beautiful long tail with a black ending, dark purplish blue eyes, long wavy beige or even pale sandy hair with teal ombre, and she didn't have to wear a special uniform. But there was one rule. The Earth creatures were never supposed to meet her story. Soon Rosa met her best friend Alexandra and her older brother, Josh. Alex and Josh also preferred the meerkat monk form, including Rosa's sisters. The trio often played together. The alien princess was way too strong for her age, what made her really difficult to beat up during the so-called play fights. She was also one of the tallest members in the Cosmic Kingdom. There was one thing that she didn't like. As soon as she turned 18 years, her father tried to force her to marry an alien named Zukimo. Rosa was upset and, however Alex supported her, couldn't deal with it. Someday she told her father that she didn't want to marry the one she didn't love. He got mad and banished her. However, Rosa's mother was such an important member of the family. In the alien kingdom only a man could rule. She cried just like her daughter. Rosalyn promised to remember her and stood in front of a special portal that got opened just for her. Suddenly, Alex, Josh, and her sisters joined her. It was such a touching moment. As they reached the Kalahari Desert, they quickly found an underground house that was supposed to be sold. It became their home. The big burrow had a door, so they could feel safe and finally rest. During the upcoming days they furnished it. Such a difficult job, as the new home had so much rooms. At the end, Rosalyn felt such a big satisfaction. Soon she met her two friends, Amorami and Lysandra, who already had their own tribes. Not only they were singers, but also doctors. Their passion made Rosa fall in love with medicine and music. Although she didn't form any band, at least she bought some instruments to practice and a microphone. If that wasn't enough, Rosa finished the medicine university and got a job in the hospital. However, her lifestyle changed. In 90%, Rosalyn decided to keep up the traditions, like respecting the nature, going fishing at least once a week, taking care of the garden, and not letting the others have kids. 6 months after Rosa had appeared on the earth, she made the final decision to form a tribe. Her life was more stable now. Her tribe got such a special name, the Moonlight Tribe, as the moon was shining brightly during the family meeting. Juarez, Alex, and Josh had many different ideas, so had Rosa's sisters, but everyone agreed that her idea of the tribe name was the best. Rosalyn became the proud leader, and now she had only two things to do. The first one was to fall in love with somebody, so he could become the CEO leader and the love of her life and give her children. And the second one was even more important. She had to provide her tribe with chance to survive. Because it was the dirty season, hunting became such a nightmare. Even scorpions didn't want to have anything in common with all the meerkat monks on the desert. If things weren't bad enough, Alexandra started to feel worse and worse with every day. Some day she lost the consciousness for the first time during the day. Rosalyn knew something was wrong. Although she was a doctor, she couldn't do any procedures at home, so she forced her friend to go to the hospital. As they finally reached the right place, Alex had tears in her eyes. Probably Josh had never seen his sister in such a bad condition. Soon the doctor came out of the room and the two could finally talk to Alexandra. But what Rosa got to hear was probably one of the most shocking things she had ever heard during her life.
Rosalyn, I'm sorry. It's all my fault. I should have told you. I I had a boyfriend and I know you're gonna be jealous because I was first, but he left me. Before he had done that, I did something. It was a test. I think you know what test I'm talking about. There were two stripes. I told him and then he told me he didn't want to be daddy. Do you understand it? He was just a roving male, and I was just a toy to him.
Then she broke up crying. Because the leader was so shocked she couldn't tell anything for a moment. Maybe because Alexandra had never been acting like a rival to her, or maybe because she didn't have any kids of her own and wanted the Moonlight Tribe to grow up, Rosa decided to support her friend and help with the baby. Days passed. Thanks to her friend and brother's support, Alex quickly forgot about the rover and took care of herself. One of the first things she had to do was to get the room ready for the baby. One baby was born very rarely on the desert, but Rosa was still happy as she could reach an extra hunter or scent. Sadly, there was a risk that mixed blood could stop the baby from growing up. During the first rain of the rainy season, Alexandra gave birth to a girl named Lindsay. Luckily, the little angel grew up, what made Rosalyn a little bit calmer. Also, because Alex had already given birth, she could have become the future advisor, as Rosa plans to have kids of her own someday. The day came really quickly. Rosa met a loner named Nico, who was looking for a new tribe. The two fell in love and got married. Nico became the first CEO leader in the tribe's history, and in the blink of an eye, Rosa got pregnant for the first time in her life. Sadly, her sister had such an unpleasant surprise for her. Juarez got pregnant herself. Just like in Alexandra's case, it was just a roving male. She was dangerous. Being pregnant herself, she could kill her sister's unborn baby to give her own bigger chances to survive, especially as Tribe was still small. Meanwhile, Lindsay turned into adolescence. Now she had an occasion to learn an important lesson to never mess up with the leader. Rebellious Juarez got banished. It was unknown if Rosa would accept her sister's children or force her to abandon them. After 11 weeks of pregnancy, Rosalyn gave birth to a girl named Ashley. Because her daughter could have got killed during the first 72 hours, Rosa didn't want to risk, and, however Juarez apologized her and begged for mercy, decided to not let her sister rejoin. Luckily, Juarez got pregnant 2 weeks after her sister, so there was still a chance that her baby would have a chance to survive. Alexandra supported Rosa, and feeling she was not alone, the leader finally let Juarez join. But that still didn't guarantee the babies any acceptance. Someday, Juarez gave birth quadruplets, and, however she held a knife in her hand and was mad at her sister, Rosa decided to let them live. Their mother felt such a big relief. Soon, thanks to Rosa and Nico's love, the Moonlight Tribe started to grow up really quickly. Lindsay, Ashley, known as the leader's successor, and the other kids reached the adulthood. Ashley became one of the babysitters. Now she had lots of siblings to look after. The first daughter of Rosa who gave birth was Erin. However, it ended up with eviction once again. Rosalyn's grandchildren got accept, and someday during her leadership she decided to let each female have kids of her own. That doesn't matter that each one of them plans to be mommy, but there was one rule: no boyfriends in the tribe. Rosa's daughters didn't really have much luck in love. The ones who became mothers got abandoned by rovers and were forced to raise up the kids on their own. Also, Rosalyn started to adopt children who lost their parents. The first adopted children were twin brothers, Aden and Aiden. Sadly, meanwhile, Nico got some illness and passed away. However, Rosa was upset. She needed to find a new partner as quickly as possible. The tribe grew up really quickly, also thanks to her daughter's help and children adoptions, but Rosalyn wanted to have some biological kids. She had really many partners: Cody, Zane, Zuko, Garrett, Paul, Rico, Wilson, Amando, Malcolm, Mariko, Zayfat. Sometimes they were just roving males. Sometimes they betrayed her. Sometimes the one Rosa loved passed away due to predators, illnesses, and many other reasons. Sadly, Rosalyn wasn't a perfect wife herself. In some cases she was just losing her mind for boys way too easily. Sometimes her rebellious heart forced her to break up with the boys or even to break up her engagement. Someday she met Blake. The two fell in love, got married, and had many children together. Sadly, Blake was killed by a jackal during one hunting. After his death, Rosalyn couldn't find any new partner for such a long time. Alexandra felt sorry for her friend. During one evening she got such a creative idea. Her brother could become the new leader.
Are you crazy? I don't love him. How do you imagine this? Are you going to force me to pledge the eternal loyalty to somebody that I love just like a friend?
But deep inside she knew that the tribe needed to grow up to survive. The CEO leader was really necessary, so finally Rosa agreed. However, Josh thought his sister was crazy. At first he agreed. As a subordinate male, he wasn't able to have a girlfriend, so at least he could pretend a husband and do something to help his best friend. Thanks to Josh and Rosalyn, the tribe reached the size of something about 500 members. Their first children were septuplets: Hannah, Pearl, Folami, Finn, Gustav, Orion, and Dorothy. They quickly got more, and even at some point of their lives, Camaria gave birth to her own kids. Ashley announced herself that she didn't want to become mother until she would become the leader. Erin's oldest daughter, named Avery, gave birth to Rosa's first great-grandchildren. Sadly, the quadrupeds, along with Rosa's so-called leader, got stopped from growing up. Soon the world leader gave birth and adopted some children of her own. Sadly, all of the boys and girls got also stopped from growing up at the so-called juvenile age. And the same thing happened when Rosalyn gave birth to 16 kids at once. They got stopped at the school age. That made Rosalyn make the decision of not having any more kids. The worried females in her tribe made exactly the same decision. What was interesting, all of the tribe members could turn into an alien form, including the adopted kids. Sadly, not every alien or hybrid woman was as good mother as Rosalyn's was. Because the tribe leader wanted to keep every child safe, she introduced the system of homeschooling to her own home on the very beginning of her leadership. However, Josh enjoyed being daddy. One thing wouldn't let him sleep at night until he told Rosalyn. Someday he talked to his sister and niece about his feelings. However, Alex was now being eaten by panic. Lindsay decided to support her favorite uncle. What made Josh close the door to the bedroom, sit on the bed and talk to Rosalyn. Until that moment, their relation was more like brother-sister than husband-wife, but now something changed. The two started to fall in love, the real love, like the one between Rosa and Nico. Josh, risking his own position, revealed his feelings to Rosalyn, and since that day the wedding rings had finally become something more than just a part of the jewelry. Now it was the symbol of love. But how strong was their love supposed to be if Rosalyn still had the market monk nature and all the handsome boys around her? Was her love strong enough to make her stay away from them?